So I want to talk about something that I think a lot of people need to hear right now, especially if you're driving for Uber, DoorDash, or Spark Driver, or you're thinking about jumping in to make some extra money, because I actually sat down and did the math. And guys, the results are not what these companies want you to see. Not even close. And look, I get it. When you're between jobs, when the bills are piling up and inflation is eating your paycheck alive, these gig platforms look like a lifeline. You see the ads? Be your own boss. Make up to $25 an hour. Flexible schedule. Work when you want. It sounds amazing on paper. But once you actually run the real numbers, and I mean the real numbers, not the ones they advertise, the picture changes completely. Let's start with Uber. The average Uber driver in the United States reports earning somewhere between $15 and $22 per hour before expenses. Before expenses. That's the number they love to throw around. But here's what they don't tell you. The average Uber driver puts somewhere between 30,000 and 40,000 miles on their car every single year doing this. You do that math. That's anywhere from $21,750 to $29,000 in vehicle costs annually, gas, oil changes, tires, brakes, depreciation, all of it coming straight out of your pocket. Nobody's reimbursing you for that. Uber certainly isn't. So that $22 an hour starts looking a whole lot more like $10 or $11 an hour once you factor in what it actually costs to operate the vehicle. And in a lot of markets right now, it's even worse than that because of oversaturation. There are simply too many drivers chasing too few rides. So you're sitting there, idle, unpaid, waiting for a ping that's worth taking. And that waiting time counts against your real hourly rate too. Even though the app isn't paying you a single cent while you sit there. Now let's talk about DoorDash, because this one really gets me. DoorDash base pay on most orders right now is somewhere between $2 and $3. $2 to $3 for you to get in your car, drive to a restaurant, wait for the food, drive to the customer's house, and hand it off. The whole thing might take 30 to 45 minutes depending on distance and wait time at the restaurant. So best case scenario is you're making $6 an hour in base pay and hoping the customer tips well enough to make it worthwhile. And a lot of customers aren't tipping. Guys! That's just the reality. People are broke too. So you've got drivers rejecting order after order because it doesn't pencil out. But here's where it gets really interesting. Spark Driver, Walmart's delivery platform. And I want to spend some time on this one because a lot of people jumped on Spark. Specifically because the order volume seemed more reliable and the pay looked better than DoorDash on the surface. And for a while, it was. Spark curbside orders, which is what they call their delivery orders. We're paying $10, $15, sometimes $20 or more for a single run. Walmart grocery orders tend to be larger and heavier, so the batches felt more substantial. Drivers were genuinely making decent money in the early days. But here's what happened. Word got out. Everyone and their cousin signed up for Spark. The driver pool exploded almost overnight. And now, in most markets, you've got drivers sitting in Walmart parking lots, some of them for hours, just waiting and refreshing the app, hoping a good offer pops up before someone else grabs it. The $20 orders are getting rarer. The $10 and $15 orders are everywhere. And Spark has a rating system just like the others. So if you decline too many low-paying offers trying to protect your time, it can actually hurt your metrics on the platform. You're basically being penalized for trying to make a rational financial decision. How does that make any sense? And let's not forget the wear and tear reality of Spark specifically. These are grocery deliveries. You're loading and unloading heavy bags of groceries, sometimes 20 or 30 items per order. Frozen foods, cases of water, pet food, bulky household items. Your car's trunk is getting beaten up. Your back is getting beaten up. And you're doing all of this for potentially $6 before expenses. When you factor in that the average car costs about 15 to 20 cents per mile just in depreciation alone, not counting gas, a 10-mile Spark delivery round trip is costing you $3 to $4 just to complete before you even think about fuel. So let me put some real numbers together for you because this is where it really hits home. Let's say you're driving for all three, Uber, DoorDash, and Spark, trying to maximize your income across multiple platforms, which a lot of people are doing right now. You're putting in a solid 40-hour week. You're hustling! You're being strategic about which jobs you accept. Realistically, in today's market, you might gross $600 to $700 for the week across all 3 platforms. Sounds okay on the surface, right? But now, subtract your gas. Depending on what you drive in your market, you're probably burning $100 to $150 in fuel alone for a 40-hour week of gig work. Then factor in vehicle depreciation and maintenance oil changes, tires, brakes, which most drivers completely ignore until it becomes an emergency. Set aside a conservative $100 a week for that. And don't forget, you're an independent contractor. Nobody is withholding taxes for you. You owe self-employment tax on top of regular income tax, which is another 15.3% right off the top. So that $650 gross week just became roughly $300 to $350 in actual take-home money. For 40 hours of work, that is less than minimum wage in most states. And people are out here thinking they're making $25 an hour. Now I want to talk about what's coming down the road because this situation is only going to get worse, not better. Waymo driverless taxis are already operating in multiple cities right now. They exist. They're real. They're picking up passengers today. And yes, they cost more than Uber at the moment. But you know what happens to technology? Prices over time. They come down, always. And when that happens at scale, the need for human Uber and Lyft drivers evaporates almost overnight. On the delivery side, companies are already piloting autonomous delivery robots in cities across the country. Little robots rolling down sidewalks, delivering food and packages to your door. No tip required. No background check needed. Never late. Never complains the order isn't profitable enough. Never puts 40,000 miles on a Honda Civic that they then can't afford to repair. For these companies, automation isn't just a future goal, it's the exit strategy from having to deal with a human workforce entirely. Spark, DoorDash, Uber Eats, every single one of them is actively investing in replacing you. And here's the part that really gets under my skin. These platforms built their entire businesses on the backs of gig workers. Millions of regular people who used their own cars, paid their own expenses, took on all the risk, and asked for nothing more than a fair shake. And the reward for all of that, lower base pay, fewer good orders, more competition, and a robot in the pipeline with your name on it. So what do you actually do with all of this? Because I'm not just here to depress you. I think gig work still has a place, but you have to be brutally honest about what it is and what it isn't. It is a short-term cash bridge. It is not a career. It is not a business. It is not a plan. Treat it like a temporary tool while you build something real on the side. A skill, a service, a small business, anything that you actually own and that can't be taken away from you by an app update or a policy change. The people who are going to be okay in this economy are the ones who stop renting their time out to these platforms and start building something of their own. That's the hard truth. And the sooner you do that math, the better off you're going to be. If this opened your eyes at all, do me a favor and subscribe so you don't miss what's coming next. And check out the video on screen right now because it ties directly into everything we just talked about. I'll see you in the next one.